But welcome. It's Thursday, so you know it's time for Money Talks with Mitchell Consulting. I am Lauren King Darden, and I'm super excited to have a special guest here with us. One of my best friends. Her name is Adrian M. White, and she's the owner and founder of AMW Marketing and Design. But before I introduce her, let me tell you why we're doing this. So, April is Financial Literacy Month, and as accountants, we're super excited about that. And we wanted to bring on a couple of entrepreneurs who have used financial literacy as a foundation of growing their business and being able to go full time as entrepreneurs, as in no more corporate, no more boss, you're the boss. So, Adrian was able to do that through a number of different strategies, and we're just really excited to dive in with her on how she did that. So now that you know why you're here, I'm just going to turn it over to Adrian. Let us know who you are, what you do, and how you got there.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. So I am Adrian M. White, and I am CEO and creative consultant of AMW Marketing Design. And we are a branding, web design, and marketing consulting firm in the DC area. And yes, I have known Lauren for many years now. I don't want to give our age, so I won't say how long, but
Please, girl, please.
we met in school, college.
That was only like 2 years, 2 years, 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
this is just a couple years ago,
A
except
couple
I
of
have
years.
like 20 years of experience. So, but yeah, I have been an entrepreneur probably at least for the last 10 years, probably more. And I have been running my business full time for the last 5 years.
Awesome. So, what does your business do? How do you serve your clients?
Yes. So I'm like I mentioned, we provide branding, web design, and marketing consulting services. So most of the work that I do is working one-on-one with my clients. We dive really deep into where they're trying to go. A lot of them are established businesses already that are looking for a rebrand, a refresh, or they want to, show up on search engines more and get more web traffic from there. They want a modern look and feel. They want a marketing approach where their copywriting is really good. So basically, after they sign up with us, if they're signing up for the branding and web design services, we kind of have like a 8-step process that we go through, and we meet, there's questionnaires, we go through the questionnaires, and we just really take a deep dive into who they are, where they're trying to go, and how we can get them there.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So, since we know financial literacy is super crucial for entrepreneurs, although it's not always the most accessible thing, could you just tell us how the financial knowledge you've acquired has kind of shaped the foundation and growth of your business? So, one, how did you get that knowledge? And two, how has it been super crucial for you to grow your business?
Yeah. So I was really blessed to have a mom that was really good with her finances. So when I was young, she just told me like different techniques that she was doing to, save money, saying always put, this amount away. She told me her knowledge of investments and, whatever she knew, she made sure she shared with me. And then she practiced good, like money saving, investing habits throughout the years. So that really started me off with like a really strong foundation because I had that knowledge on how to manage money effectively. And then she also, did something which you guys should do for your kids too. She added me onto her credit card before I was even 18 as like an additional user, even though she never told me this and she never gave me a card or whatever, but she added me as an authorized user, which allowed me to benefit from her credit history. So it gave me a little boost while I was like just starting my credit, experience in college and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I already was like starting on a really good foot there. So using most of the knowledge that she's given me, I've just practiced different financial habits over the years that help prepare me to have my expenses be as low as possible, try and minimize my debt, and really prepared me for entrepreneurship and specifically full time entrepreneurship.
Awesome. Awesome. So, knowing that, like reflecting on that journey, like what was a pivotal moment where you noticed how important this information was, like in your, business and entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah, I think the biggest moment was when I was preparing to go full time with my business. Before I went full time, I was earning on almost 100K a year, so almost like six figures, and it was going to be a drastic change going from earning that amount of money to, I didn't know how much I was going to earn. When I went full time with my business. The year prior, I'd earned 20K for my business. So 100K to 20K, like obviously this not gonna work. But some of the things that I did to prepare for going full time so that I was feeling a little bit more confident about, my finances entering that era is so to start right after school, like a year after school, I bought a condo in a suburban area. It wasn't like a really like pop-in city, but my condo, it was a nice size, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. And I was like 23 or 24, and I was only paying 1,200 a month for it, including the condo fee. So my expenses, my total like home expenses were like probably no more than 1,600 a month, which is like a
Which,
deal in this
yeah,
area.
for those not from the DC area, that's extremely low to
Yeah.
live here. It's
It
very
might
low.
have even been lower than that because it was like I was paying like the 1,200. Most of the bills were included in the condo fee, so I had like a
Mm.
$60 electric bill, and then everything else was just like cable and stuff. So I kept my expenses really really low, and so over the years it enabled me to be able to save more. So I was building up my savings, and then I also knew that when I was trying to replace my income that I didn't necessarily have bills that were going to be $5,000 or $6,000. So I only needed to replace 1,500 or 2,000, which is a lot more manageable than, having bills that are, upwards of $5,000 and stuff, which I definitely know about now. But
And and what I'm getting from that is not just that you were able to keep things low, but the reason you were able to keep your bills and your expenses low is because you knew what they were. So you were tracking them, you kept close attention to your own personal finances in addition to the finances of your business to be able to say, okay, the strategy that I want to take is to live on as little as possible so that when I get to the point where I'm not making as much, I'll have either a savings, I'll have a nest egg, or I'll have my expenses low enough to be able to make it through until, things change or, you kind of get your business up to where your corporate job was. And like just to relate to people who maybe can't cut bills or may not have the ability to do that, like let's say like I might have a house with kids and stuff, I might not be able to chop certain expenses, but I think the biggest thing that I'm taking from that is that you knew what they were to be able to chop them. Like
yeah.
you really had to track them. So could you kind of talk about like what were some of the things that you did to ensure you knew what was going on in your business in your life? Sorry, this is kind of a off the
Before I went full time or after?
before.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to kind of my personal life because the business and personal life are, very closely linked, especially as a
Mhm.
single member LLC. So, in my personal life, I had a budget spreadsheet that I used. And the budget spreadsheet literally had any recurring payment, in any way. So obviously my bills, but even like if I had a Netflix subscription or I had a gym membership, or maybe I was like to order delivery or something. I literally set a budget for everything, a grocery budget, a gas budget, a fun money budget. And I knew what those amounts were, in those certain sections. So when I got paid, and I had, a savings budget. So when I got paid, I had a couple of different accounts. And so I would put all of the money would go into an account that wasn't as easily accessible for me. So like if I got a paycheck, it goes into the second account. And then I only transferred the money that was my budgeted spending money for those next 2 weeks until my next paycheck in my personal account. So once my money was out, like once my car, I'm like, oh shoot, I only got $5 in there. I know that I was like spending too quickly or whatever, or just spending too much for it. And then I also was like really cognizant about that, okay, I'm budgeting $50 for gas, or I'm budgeting $75 for groceries. I kept track of what those, actual amounts were. And sometimes I even did it on my phone in like a note, where I would
Mm-hmm.
put different transactions. So to start, having that budget is what enables you to save and what enables you to be able to run a business. So once, in my business, I had opened a separate business account so that I could separate, the income or
Yeah.
whatever. And I had a little trouble with managing finances initially with the business account, because I would just do like the owner's draw and like be paying myself and stuff. And before I went full time, my business expenses were really, really low.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually I adopted the profit first method. And that enabled me to really figure out what those percentages were going to be of the amount I was going to get paid, amount that was going to stay in my business expense account, the tax account. So that helped me make sure that I had enough money going around and going in the right places, no matter how much or how little I was bringing in.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because I feel like what you explained for your personal life was also profit first. You were like profit first in your personal life, and then you profit first at your business. And that's what we call a cash flow strategy. And a lot of times, entrepreneurs, because like your personal life impacts your business like your personal finances, business finance impact each other. As much as we want to keep them separated, they're impacting each other, even
Right.
though they are physically separated, to
Right.
ensure that we have, like, the protection of an LLC. We want to physically separate our money, but what we do in each part of our lives are so dependent on each other, a little bit more than you would think from a corporate perspective, because you don't have that regular like paycheck, it's coming. So you really have to keep a close eye on your own personal finances. And I think you you kind of like profit firsted your life before you profit firsted your business, and put like a
Mhm.
name and
Yeah.
a strategy toward it. But I feel like it was a very similar thing. So I think that's a very important thing for people to hone in on and try to implement into their businesses as they're working toward different goals that they have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that if you kind of work from like the future back, so like if you know that you let's say it's for your business, you want to spend 10,000 on your next business coach or something like that, and you know that you want to save that amount over time, you can say, okay, so if I'm going to do this in 10 months, ideally, that's $1,000 a month. And you can, I just think it's really helpful to like be able to know how much each month or each week or each, paycheck or however it's working for you, what to save for future expenses.
Hmm. Awesome. So that's awesome. So once you got to corporate, it seemed sorry, once you left corporate and started things full time, it seems like the profit first thing has been helping you
Mhm.
to stay afloat or move things as you needed. But again, you knew what was going on in your finances and your books to be able to do that. And so I want to know, from your perspective, getting to where you are full time, what are some of the key things that you would recommend to maybe someone who's just starting out with a business and has a similar goal to leave their current job to make their business full time? Like, what are some of those key financial pointers that you would give to them?
Yeah. So the two biggest things that you want to try and do is lower your expenses and increase your savings. So obviously, increasing your savings gives you that emergency fund or that cushion as you're building up your business. And sometimes a lot of people say, like, scale your business while you're still working it as a side hustle or is on the side, but sometimes you're not able to truly scale it to full-time income until you're putting full-time hours to it. So like for me, like I said, I was getting 20K a year and I was, maybe working 10 to 20 hours a week on it. But once I switched to full time and was working 40 hours a week, then I was able to bring it up to 70K a year pretty quickly. So make sure that you have a little some cushion. If you can afford it, 3 to 6 months of your living expenses and savings would be ideal. And then the other half of it, lowering your expenses. If you have a lot of different bills that you are paying, you need to figure out how to try and eliminate some of them, or eliminate, lower, whatever you can do. And sometimes you have to take some sacrifices for maybe a year or so that you can reach those goals. One of the things that I sacrificed leading up to going full time is when I was making that 100K salary. That was a big bump from my previous job, but I also knew that I wanted to leave that job in like a year or so to go full time. So instead of, using that extra 2,000 a month or 3,000 a month, for personal stuff, I kept my expenses and kept my bills and kept my spending money like I was still earning 50 or 60K a year. And then I was able to have 2 or 3 thousand per month that I could throw to my student loan. And so aggressively paying that amount each month was enabled me to pay like probably 20K or even more in 1 year span and pay off the rest of my student loan. So sometimes you have to sacrifice that, because I would have loved to go out to eat more, go on more trips and stuff for that year that I was earning all that money. But I really, hunkered down and didn't go as extravagant as I could have.
As you could have. Yeah. And I think the foresight in that is a very CEO mindset. A lot of times, the sacrifice that comes with being a business owner is not felt until you're kind of in it and doing it and wanting to get to a certain place. And so, um, while we don't want to have like a scarcity mindset per se, we still need to have a like foresight to put ourselves in the positions to be able to kind of excel past, our goals and our vision and stuff like that by maybe putting ourselves in a position of lack, or maybe a more stressful position, like temporarily now. And temporarily could be like a year, it could be a couple months. It just depends on where you're going. But I love to see the way that you had the foresight to say, like, okay, if I were to just kind of sacrifice these things, and I know just being your friend, I saw some of that in real time and was able to be like, oh, okay, I understand. Like, oh, we can't do this thing. Okay, I understand. But sometimes it's kind of harder going through it in the moment. In in hindsight, it's like, oh, that was the best thing to do. But in the
Mm,
midst of it, I know that was like a difficult sacrifice for you to make
yeah.
many times.
There was, I mean, that sacrifice was difficult, but not as difficult as another sacrifice I had done years prior to that, too. So the year that I was like ramping up to go full time, I think was 2018. But back in like 2015, so I had my condo that I owned, and I was again I was earning less money. So I was like, how can I get more money? How can I get more money to save or to whatever? And I realized that if I could I was in 2 bedroom, if I could find a 1 bedroom that was cheaper, like an apartment, and then rent out my condo for higher than I was paying, then those differences would allow me to have extra 600 or 700 a month. So I ended up doing that. I left my condo, I rented it out. I moved like 30, 40 miles from where it was to a much more isolated town, much farther from friends and the
Hmm.
city and stuff. And if I'm being honest, I hated that year. I hated that year for so many reasons. But again, it enabled me to do some things financially, later on that maybe I wouldn't have been able to. I might have had to delay me going full time with my business if I hadn't made that sacrifice.
Yeah, yeah. So are there any like frameworks or methodologies that you feel are kind of like indispensable, like technology or tools that you use in regards to your like just business and finance that you know that you cannot go without and you would recommend to somebody who's coming up and trying to replicate what you've done?
Yeah, so definitely you want to use, obviously accounting system. I use QuickBooks for it. And so it's connected to the accounts, my bank accounts, it's pulling the transactions in. So you definitely want to have like a reputable, system where you're managing the transactions. Let's see, what else am I doing for finances? Stripe has been a really great partner for me as being like my, payment provider. And one of the biggest benefits that I've been getting from Stripe is their working capital loans, where they will give you, different sums of money loans that you pay back over time with your transactions. It doesn't hit your credit. It's through your business. So that's been really helpful. Um, Let me think what else for
And
finances.
just for those who aren't familiar with Stripe, it's a payment processor. So when you charge people for your services, they can pay through Stripe and then Stripe will put it in your bank account.
Mhm.
But with the working capital with Stripe, it's like you have some debt with them, but every time someone pays you, it kind of like auto pays a portion of your incoming payment to that loan that you've taken with them. So it really feels like you don't really feel like the loan payments because it's through the coming payments. It's almost like a yeah. So it's a little different than the traditional loan, even though there I think there is interest and stuff, but
Mm.
it just you don't feel the that like monthly
Pain.
payment.
Yeah, and the payback period is usually pretty long, like 12 months, 18 months and stuff too. So, yeah, that's been really beneficial. I'm trying to think if there's any other financial related things. Hire a bookkeeper. Mitchell Consulting has some great ones. um, And maybe, I mean, I would say maybe you want to set some business budgets and stuff too. So similar to how I was doing like personal budgets, I like to track like what are my expenses. So like software costs, because now I have a lot of expenses trying to automate the business. Um, and I also what else am I doing? I still am following profit first. So you can, if you use the profit first methodology and you know that there's a certain amount of money that you want to get paid and stuff, again, you can kind of backtrack and figure out how much does your business need to bring in just based off of those percentages to get you to the payment that you want. So definitely recommend all those tools.
Yes, yes, I love that. We try to get our new business owners to think of their pricing strategies by using what they actually need in their personal lives because, like we said, your business and interconnected as a business owner. You get to set the tone, you get to set the prices, and it's like, well, what do I charge? Adrian brought up something awesome by saying, okay, if I need to make this amount of money for my household, then I likely need to charge this amount of money for my services. And the only way to know that is to understand like what it costs to put on those services. You know, I know you have a team
Mhm.
and you have people that help you bring your services to your clients. So if you have that, you need to understand like what is that cost of goods sold or cost of service, um, and how much time and money does it really take for me to do this for people, and then how much of this do I need to do, or how many branding or websites do you need to do
Mhm.
to fully take care of your own personal needs. You won't know that until you understand kind of those small pieces. Profit First makes it really simple by putting percentages on things. So if you want to take home 50%, then you know that you need to kind of bring in a certain amount of money to get that. So It's a really, really good tool. So it's good to see it actually work in real time with a real person and not just be a concept that we preach.
Yes, it actually was Michelle who taught me Profit
Of
First
course
and
she did.
encouraged it. So I have to thank
When I joined Mitchell Consulting, that is one of the books that she sent me. She sent
her.
me Profit First. And I was like, oh, I learned this from Adrian, who introduced me to Michelle. It's like a whole full circle moment.
It is. It is.
Awesome. So we have been here for a good amount of time. Is there anything that you have going on that you want to share with our audience? Like, we want to support AMW Marketing Design. So please let us know what's going on with how we can support your business.
Yeah. So I am releasing a new marketing consulting program in the next coming weeks. So probably in early May. And if you're a business owner and you need assistance with like a marketing strategy plan for the year or for the quarter or half of the year, our program will help walk you through how to digitally market in four key areas of marketing: search engine optimization, social media marketing, email marketing, and public relations. So if you're interested in learning more information about the program, you can go to our website, Brand with AMW. So you can see it in the company name in the video.com. And also make sure you join our mailing list, which is at the bottom of our website as well. And you'll be the first notified when our program comes out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We really appreciate you being so open and candid with your story and telling us all the intricate details of how you were able to use your financial literacy knowledge to get you to the place where you wanted to be, which is having your business full time. So, this has been Money Talks with Mitchell Consulting. Please don't forget to join us next week. We have another awesome interview with another awesome entrepreneur. We're going to be talking to Tony Mitchell from Texture House, and he's going to give us some of the similar tips that Adrian did. So if you are interested in getting to the point where you no longer have to work two businesses, you just want to do yours full time, tune in for more tips on another entrepreneur's journey of using their financial literacy to get them to full-time entrepreneurship. Okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, our future Money Talks can answer your questions. Put them in the comments below or DM us directly. We will answer your questions in one of our live Money Talks. So we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.